Welcome to your midweek news update, which shares with you the news making headlines within and beyond the borders of Namibia, read to you by Diana Master here on NMH at 1. In the news today, the Witvlei community threatened village council shutdown, protest lack of service delivery and alleged corruption. Water interruption planned for Windhoek this weekend. Establishment of agricultural college in Kavango East region deemed essential. CRAN encourages SIM registration compliance. These stories and more coming to you all through this lunch hour. In today's midday news update, the city of Windhoek has warned residents that a planned water interruption will occur tomorrow, Friday 15 July at 6 p.m. until Sunday 17 July 6 p.m. due to a planned shutdown of the Van Bach-Windhoek supply line by NAM Water for 48 hours. The city of Windhoek will commission the borehole scheme to augment the water shortage as a result of the interrupted supply from NAM Water. Brakwater residents who get water directly from Okahanya-Windhoek line have been urged to make alternative arrangements for this period. Another water interruption is planned for 29 July. Remember to engage us on our social media platforms and leave your thoughts in the comments as we share stories from local communities on the other side of this short break in our visual news segment. Getting into today's visual news clips, starting off, the Witvlei community this morning marched from the Witvlei Village Council office in protest of a lack of service delivery, alleged corruption, as well as a lack of transparency and unexplained resignations of management staff. Former Witvlei CEO Chris Morangi said they want President Hage Geingob to intervene urgently. Protesting Witvlei residents are threatening to shut down the Witvlei Village Council offices. They say being in prison is better than being without food, jobs, water and other basic services. Jamie Lee Loss and Jemima Beakus were there. Let's take a look.
The Witvlei community has this morning marched to the Witvlei Village Council office in protest of a lack of service delivery, corruption, as well as a lack of transparency and unexplained resignations of management staff. Jamie Lee Loss and Jemima Beakus was there.
Lately, when we had a march last week, the Deputy Minister promised to get to Witvlei as soon as possible. That promise was she would be here this week, Monday. We found that she was ill. We also understood that as a human being, she did not feel well, it's okay. But we needed at least for her to have courtesy to indicate to the community that I'm not in a position to come, but I will come on so-and-so date. She did not. After that, we also wrote a letter to her, requesting her at least to show up yesterday, which is Wednesday. We did not even receive any comment from her. We're hearing some hearsays that is also indicating that Witvlei problems are non-issues to her, which is an embarrassment to me, as far as I'm concerned. We're talking about somebody who is the Deputy Minister from the region. She was the Director of Education. She's from the Maheke region. But nobody cared about Witvlei as far as that is concerned. We're now at this point in time, we're standing here. We're demanding the President of this country to attend to our issue ASAP.
Now, Kavango East Governor Bonifacius Wakudumo weighs in on the importance of the establishment of an agricultural college in the region dubbed as a food basket of the country. Wakudumo's sentiments come at a time when many leaders from Kavango East have been making the call for the establishment of such an institution, saying that the region is blessed with fertile land, the Kavango River and favorable weather conditions for agricultural activities. Kenya Kamboe reports.
See, we are called the Kavango East region is one of the breadbasket of Namibia. 32 years after independence, year in, year out, is the same song what we are saying. Now, to become a breadbasket, you need people with the technical know-how. You know people with the necessary skills to do that. Now, one of our strong characteristics in Kavango East region, we are an agricultural region. For me, it is befitting if the institution of higher learnings can open up an agricultural campus in Kavango East region. Not only for Kavango East region, but for the entire Namibia. But now, to give impetus to the notion of saying Kavango is a food basket, it's fitting if we can put up an agricultural institution which also address this issue of the, creating, of developing, of bringing up, people within the agricultural sector as technicians, engineers to run the activities in agriculture, because the land we have, the soil is okay, water we have, the climate is conducive. What is needed is only the technical know-how and the technical capacity to run agriculture on a commercial basis. And to do that, we need to train people. Hence, it is critical and imperative important to put up an agricultural institution here.
Moving right along, CRAN officially launched the National SIM Registration Awareness Campaign in June, which aims to educate the public on the importance of registration of SIM cards in Namibia. Received with some hesitance, CRAN is on a mission to have the public and all stakeholders understand the relevance of SIM registration, debunk misinformation, and encourage compliance. Yolanda Nell has more.
The mandatory SIM registration to be implemented by mobile service providers in Namibia is made in preparation for protecting digital identities from cybercrimes and to ensure the effective regulation of a technological landscape that offers great benefits to society, the economy, and Namibia's governance. According to the Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia's Chief Executive Officer, Emilia Ngembau, she said following the recent conference and expo regarding Namibia's preparation for the fourth industrial revolution, the effective regulation of technologies on par with international best practices and in the interest of national safety has never been more important. The protection of the individuals from cybercrimes is just as important. SIM registration is a component of a larger scheme for Namibia's application of digital technologies to various matters, including defense, finance, agriculture, education, and governance. The SIM registration conditions obligate users to register their SIM cards at the service providers they subscribe to by providing their full name, address, and identity number in the form of a copy of an ID or passport. As of the 1st of January 2023 to the 31st of December 2023, it is mandatory for mobile operators to register all their customers' SIM cards and obtain all relevant information before the sale and activation of SIM cards. Operators will have a period of 12 months to conclude the registration of existing customers. The information of new customers must be registered within 3 months from date of sale, and unregistered SIM cards will be deactivated.
When we return, we'll be taking a look at the news headlining Namibia's daily newspapers. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. Starting off on the front page of the Namibian Sun, Secretary of the SWAPO Party Youth League in Kavango West, Bonifacius Muronga, allegedly forged the signature of SWAPO Secretary General Sophia Shaningwa and used President Hage Geingob's name to swindle the mother of his child out of monies amounting to 105,000 Namibian dollars between 2019 and 2020. According to Namibian Sun, Muronga was arrested on Tuesday and appeared in the Rundu Magistrates Court yesterday, where he was granted bail of 8,000 Namibian dollars. The 34-year-old faces 16 counts of fraud after he allegedly used SWAPO Party letterheads, stamps, and Shaningwa's signature to write fake letters to himself in order to defraud his then partner of her money. In one such letter dated 1 October 2020, he was allegedly asked to pay a 40,000 Namibian dollar deposit for a baki the party was allocating to him. In his quest to defraud more money from his girlfriend, Muronga allegedly concocted another undated letter inviting him to a state house for a meeting with Geingob on 17 October 2020 to discuss his possible appointment as an ambassador or executive director. On its page 3, the Namibian Sun reports that a meat processing plant will soon be constructed in Katima Mulilo to the tune of 35 million Namibian dollars. This was announced by the Agriculture Ministry during a site inspection this week at the about 5-hectare area earmarked for construction. According to the ministry, the construction is among major activities funded by the European Union through the 11th European Development Fund with an estimated value of more than 287 million Namibian dollars. Today's Republican also leads with the lively public debate about compulsory HIV testing for cadets wanting to enter the Namibian Defence Force. In Namibia, the Labour Court already 2 decades ago in 2002 labelled this practice as unreasonable discrimination. Currently, the policy is under under legal attack in the United States, while the UK government only in June this year abolished most of its restrictions on HIV-positive soldiers. From Inside Republican, we learned that scientists working with the Luderitz Marine Research Project have found evidence that not all Damara tern bird species migrate to Central Africa during the winter to breed in a warmer climate. The species actually uses the salt pans north of Luderitz and Hottentot Bay to breed, and some of these birds have now been ringed to study their travel habits in more detail. On the front page of the Allgemeine Zeitung, you can read up on what is going on in the Kavango West region, where a number of local residents decided to dismantle the fences erected by farmers. First reactions from local folk were that this happened in reaction to residents of the region not allowing fences to be erected to indicate an allocated piece of farmland. This, however, does not sit well with mostly Oshivambo-speaking farmers that have been granted land rights which farmland they fence in. In the meantime, the Legal Assistance Center sees a much bigger problem with more than 40 court orders that forbid the erection of fences. In many cases, these transgressors are high-ranking people, even ministers such as the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security, Daniel Kashikola. The Allgemeine Zeitung on its page 3 brings a third installment of a series of articles in which the paper informs its readership of the background, future plans and opportunities for Namibia through the implication of its Namibian strategy for renewable energy, where hydrogen production plays a leading role towards reaching Vision 2030, including secured economic growth to benefit of the whole community. We're now going to take a quick ad break and get into the second half of our newspaper review when we return. And now let's get into the second half of our newspaper review. The Namibian reports that Tamsin Fiti Hatukwilipi, son-in-law of former Fisheries Minister Bernard Esau and one of the key accused in the fish rod fishing quotas fraud and corruption case, says tens of millions of dollars paid to him by the Icelandic fishing company group Samergi were for consultancy services delivered to the group. In his testimony, Hatukwilipi told the acting judge that he did consultancy work for Samergi by linking it with Namibian fishing rights holders. The Namibian's page 3 takes us to Swakopmund, where a capacity building workshop aimed at strengthening gender equality, poverty eradication and social welfare was held by members of the National Council, who at the event reportedly heckled the line minister Doreen Sioka. Sioka said that the council is lagging behind in achieving 50-50 gender representation, upon which some of the men in the audience said it's not our issue, while others chuckled. Sioka stated that she has never encountered that level of rudeness, adding that the heckling of women in parliament is common but is not going to solve the problem. The minister also said that the gender gap affects the passing of laws favoring women. The paper also reports that taxis and seven-seater operators are threatening to go on a nationwide strike on 26 July for an indefinite period, depending on the government's response to their 40% increase in taxi fare. Moving over, the New Era reports that the Namibia Defence Force has clapped back, saying it is not an employment bureau, following public outcry among unemployed young people over the mandatory health, academic and age requirements for the NDF's recruitment. The paper also reports that the affirmative repositioning movement has neither taken a resolution or sanctioned any of its deployed to the Windhoek municipality to pass a vote of no confidence in the current management committee. New Era's page 3 highlights the fight of Kavango conservancies to fight exploration in the region. 4 community forest and conservancy organizations from the Kavango region claim there is no viable oil in the area as they fight to stop exploration activities by the Canadian company Recon Africa, despite authorization having been granted by the authorities. The group seek an interim court interdict against Recon Africa to restrain it from continuing any oil and gas exploration activities pending the finalization of an appeal lodged against the Environmental Commissioner's decision in favor of the company. On page 1 of Economics Focus Market Watch, the Capricorn Foundation formally introduced its Food Waste Challenge 2022 yesterday. This comes after the challenge's launch was announced on June 29, 2022, and the public was encouraged to come up with creative methods to reduce food waste in Namibia. The goal of the challenge is to find solutions to feed every Namibian who is in need, regardless of their vulnerability, rather than having them forage for food at dump sites. Now, Namibia remains among the top 10 countries to have closed at least 80% of its gender gap. More on this coming right up after the break.
Kaap vol hoop vertel stories van die Kaap en sy mense en uit die stories en ervarings deel ons mooi en unieke plekke om te sien en te ervaar. Kaap vol hoop gaan waar die Kaapenaars gaan en gaan kuier waar die Kaapenaars kuier. Van die strande tot die wynlande en die sportvelde tot die restaurante. Ons kuier dalk sommer ook in iemand se kombuis vir daai familieresep van ouma. Ons eet die Kaapse tradisionele kosse en drink van sy beste wyne. Kaap vol hoop gesels met die gewone Kaapenaar en soms ook met die meer bekendes, maar week vir week vertel ons elkeen sy eie unieke storie op sy unieke manier. Kaap vol hoop kyk ook uit vir die Namibiërs in die Kaap. Sommige kom kuier net en sommige maak die Kaap hulle nuwe tuiste. Namibiërs in die Kaap gesels saam met Kaap vol hoop en deel self die mooi, die uniek en lekker wat op hul pad kom. En alles is Kaap vol hoop 'n program wat die mooi en die lag na vore wil bring en 'n program waar ons mekaar kan opbou en leer. Daar is hoop. Daar is 'n Kaap vol hoop.
And now let's dive into the world of economics. Starting off our economic news, Namibia remains among the top 10 countries to have closed at least 80% of its gender gap, according to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2022. However, the country has dropped 2 places to number 8 from its previous ranking. This while the report warned that globally equality is not improving. It'll take another 132 years to close the global gender gap as crises are compounding, women's workforce outcomes are suffering, and the risk of global gender parity backsliding further intensifies. Iceland has once again been named the most gender equal country. The Nordic country has closed more than 90% of its gender gap and tops the ranking for the 12th year in a row out of a total of 146 economies in the index. Iceland's near neighbors Finland, Norway and Sweden dominate the top 5, while only 4 countries in the top 10 are outside Europe, namely New Zealand 4th, Rwanda 6th, Nicaragua 7th and Namibia 8th. This year, the index benchmarks 146 countries, providing a basis for robust cross-country analysis. Of these, a subset of 102 countries has been represented in every edition of the index since 2006, further providing a large constant sample for time series analysis. The annual report measures scores on a 0 to 100 scale, which can be interpreted as the distance covered towards parity or the percentage of the gender gap that has been closed. The cross-country comparisons aim to support the identification of the most effective policies to close gender equality gaps. In our next story, South Africa's short-term insurers have seen a significant increase in claims as a result of the severe power cuts across South Africa. Power surges cause damage to sensitive electronic equipment whenever electricity supply is restored, while car accidents increase when traffic lights and street lighting stop working. Burglaries also increase when the lights go out and alarm systems shut down. According to Aneli Retief, head of Dial Direct Insurance, the daily occurrence of load shedding in South Africa is much more than just a major inconvenience. Comparing the number of burglary incidents and the number of vehicle accidents when there is no load shedding to when there was load shedding, we found that burglaries increased some 3.2% and vehicle accidents by 5.2% when there's no electricity. Over weekends, these figures more than double. Break-ins increased by 8% and vehicle accidents rise by 13.5%, she says, noting that Dial Direct analyzed claims data from July 2019 to May 2022. Power surges are also causing an increase in claims. A power surge takes place when the flow of electricity is interrupted and then starts up again, bending electricity back into the system. Power surges can cause instant damage to electrical appliances by melting plastic or metal parts and burning circuits, says Retief. Philippa Wild, head of commercial underwriting at Santam, says Santam has also seen a significant increase in claims for damage to sensitive electronic items due to power surges across its personal insurance and commercial insurance portfolios. And now let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is up in value and weighed against the US dollar and the British pound, while dropping in price against these other major currencies. No changes on the NSX as far as these stock prices are concerned. Namibia Breweries stocks still strong at 40 Namibian dollars. RX Properties Ltd stock prices are up by 0.1%. NSX overall index has also increased by the same percentage. Brent crude oil still soaring, now trading at just under $100 per barrel, while these other commodities have dropped in price. Now, army recruits from Somalia were taken to Eritrea for military training and subsequently lost touch with their relatives. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud recently met some of their parents. The full story coming up after the break as we get into our news.
Kletskompas is 'n Afrikaanse kontinuïteitsprogram met Namibiese nuus en onderhoude. As jy jou handelsmerk of veldtog op hierdie platform wil vertoon, kontak klets@synergy.com.na.
You're still watching NMH at 1. We now take a look at the latest news in our neighboring countries and later on extend to the rest of the globe. Now, Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has met parents of army recruits who were taken to Eritrea for military training. The soldiers' whereabouts and well-being had become a concern after families lost contact with them 3 years ago. On Wednesday night, parents at the presidential palace openly wept despite the president's reassurance that happy days are on the way. I went to the camp in Eritrea. I have seen your sons. I celebrated with them on the second day of Eid ul-Adha and I left money for them to buy calling cards. I have urged all of them to call you and other parents, they should be calling you today or tomorrow, the president was heard saying in a video tweeted by his office. The soldiers, reported to be about 5,000 in number, appeared for the first time in public last week after they were photographed with President Mohamud during his visit to Eritrea. Their recruitment sparked controversy following claims that some of them fought alongside Eritrean soldiers in backing the Ethiopian army's offensive against rebel fighters in the Tigray region. Both Somalia and Eritrea denied the claims. The head of Ethiopia's National Humanitarian Agency was arrested yesterday on suspicion of corruption, the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation reported, sourcing the police. Mitiku Kasa, head of the National Disaster Risk Management Commission, a government agency in charge of risk prevention and victim assistance, was arrested by the federal police today, EBC reported. A former Secretary of State for Risk Management, Mr. Mitiku, took over as head of the NDRMC in 2015. He was further appointed in December 2019 as a member of the UN Secretary General's high-level panel on internal displacement. He is suspected of associating with the boss of the El Shaddai Association for corrupt purposes. Tades Ayalewe, deputy head of the Anti-Corruption Investigation Unit at the Federal Police Crime Branch, told EBC. Prior to his arrest, he had allegedly been under close police surveillance, he continued. It is known that this El Shaddai Association had received food and clothing on several occasions for the benefit of displaced people from various regions, but then sold this aid to buy a house for the suspect, the police officer said. Ethiopia is facing a major humanitarian crisis due to the cumulative effects of conflicts, including the one that broke out in the northern region of Tigray in November 2020, and unprecedented drought in several regions. According to the UN, nearly 26 million people, or just under a quarter of the country's population, are in need of food aid, including nearly 5 million displaced people. Moving over to South Africa, the city of Johannesburg has given notice that it will defend a decision that led to a drastic increase in property rates for schools, universities and colleges in court. This follows an urgent application by civil rights group AfriForum to have the decision to remove the rates category education from the city's rates policy reviewed and set aside. It was earlier reported that public schools and tertiary education institutions will in future be assessed as public service property and pay about 6 times more than before, while independent schools, universities and colleges will be assessed as businesses, paying about 10 times more. AfriForum hopes the application will be heard in the High Court in Pretoria before the end of July, when the first increase may show up on bills. According to an affidavit by Monet Mustet, head of municipal affairs at AfriForum, public schools and tertiary institutions face an increase of 529%, while independent schools, universities and colleges face an increase of 686% if they qualify for a 25% rebate. Without it, the increase will be considerably more. Mustet says these institutions will not be able to pay these increases, even where the state, as owner of school property, is responsible for the payment of these rates. It will place an unfair burden on the relevant department, and money earmarked for new schools or the improvement of infrastructure will have to be used to pay the municipal bill. Now, Uber is being sued in the United States by 550 women who were allegedly assaulted by drivers on the ride-hailing platform, while chaos has ensued in Haiti with dozens of lives lost. These stories coming up on the other side of this break.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
Headlining our international news, Uber is being sued in the United States by 550 women who were allegedly assaulted by drivers on the ride-hailing platform. The filing includes allegations women passengers were kidnapped, sexually assaulted, sexually battered, raped, falsely imprisoned, stalked, harassed, or otherwise attacked by Uber drivers. The case was filed at the San Francisco County Superior Court on Wednesday. Sexual assault is a horrific crime and we take every single report seriously, an Uber spokesperson told the BBC. There is nothing more important than safety, which is why Uber has built new safety features, established survivor-centric policies, and been more transparent about serious incidents, they added. The complaint alleged that the sexual assaults took place in multiple states. It also stated that at least another 150 potential cases are being actively investigated. The lawsuit alleges that as early as 2014, Uber became aware that its drivers were sexually assaulting and raping female passengers, but the filing claims that the company prioritized growth over customer safety. Last month, Uber released its second U.S. safety report, which showed there were 998 sexual assault incidents, including 141 rape reports in 2020. In the report, the company said it had received a total of 3,824 reports of the 5 most severe categories of sexual assault between 2019 and 2020. Mark McGann said that the lawsuit claims something similar, that the company intentionally concealed that Uber drivers had sexually assaulted women. In our next story, a week of gang violence in Haiti's capital has left at least 89 people dead, a rights group said Wednesday, as soaring prices, fuel shortages, and gang warfare accelerate a brutal downward spiral in the security situation in Port-au-Prince. The unrest erupted on July 7th between two rival factions in Sitsoleil, an impoverished and densely populated neighborhood of Port-au-Prince. As gunfire crackled in the slums for nearly a week, police, short-staffed and ill-equipped, did not intervene, while international humanitarian organizations struggled to deliver crucial food supplies and provide medical care to the victims. Thousands of families living in the slums that have sprung up here over the past 4 decades had no choice but to hide inside their homes, unable to fetch food or water, and with many houses made of sheet metal, dozens of residents fell victim to stray bullets. At least 89 people were killed and 16 others are missing in the past week's violence, the National Human Rights Defense Network said in a statement, adding that another 74 people sustained gunshot or knife wounds. Mumuza Muhindo, head of the local mission of Doctors Without Borders, on Wednesday urged all combatants to allow medics to safely access Brooklyn, an area of Sitsoleil most affected by the violence. Despite the danger, Muhindo said his group has operated on an average of 15 patients a day since last Friday. We're now going to take a quick ad break, and when we return, we get into the world of sport. Stay with us.
Ohole So Nice is an entertainment show brought to you by the youth for the youth. This is a dating show that allows individuals to participate and be their own true selves. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Now, starting off our local sports stories, Olympic silver medalist Christine Boma's coach Henk Botha yesterday revealed that the 2020 Tokyo Olympics 200-meter silver medalist has been training well as she picks up speed. The coach is optimistic that the sprinter will gain speed moving forward. We are training well and she has recovered 100% from the injury that kept her from competing at the World Championships. Botha said Mboma took a few days off as she recovers from a flu, but gave assurances that she will be okay. The coach added the fact that she will not be able to take certain flu medications due to the regulations means that we will have to let her recover on her own. The athlete suffered from a rare rectus femoris injury in her right leg, which she picked up at the World Athletics Continental Tour in Nairobi, Kenya in May. Namibia's Brave Warriors will battle Mozambique on Friday in the COSAFA Cup semi-final after both teams beat their opponents in the quarter-final of the tournament. Namibia reached the semi-final after beating Madagascar 2-0 via goals from Absalom Imbondi and Wendell Rudolph. Mozambique took out South Africa 5-4 on penalties following a 0-0 draw in normal time. Senegal advanced to the semi-final after beating Eswatini 10-9 on penalties. The Teranga Lions will face the Zambians in the other semi-final also on Friday. In our next story, Netball Namibia have announced a training squad of 21 players for the Africa World Cup qualifiers to be held in August 2022, Pretoria and South Africa. The group has been called up for training and were selected to play defense, mid-court, as well as a selection of shooters. Now, after the break, we get into the international sports scene.
Straight Talk is a debate competition for high school learners and a spelling competition for primary school learners, mostly focusing on current affairs among the youth. Contact Zone at synergy.com.na to share your products and services. Straight Talk. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument.
Now, international sports news starts off with Raheem Sterling becoming Chelsea's first signing since Todd Boehly's consortium bought the club on Wednesday, ending his successful 7-year spell at Manchester City. The 27-year-old forward signed a 5-year contract for a fee reported to be £50 million. England star Raheem Sterling has joined Chelsea from Manchester City on a 5-year contract, said Chelsea in a statement. Sterling had preempted his move earlier on Wednesday by posting a goodbye message on social media, saying he left City as a man, having arrived from Liverpool as a 20-year-old. Now, game-breaking New Zealand backs Will Jordan and David Havili will make their first start of the series against Ireland, while forward Sam Whitelock and Nepo Laulala return from injuries in a much-changed team for the third and deciding test. In addition to the 4 personnel changes, coach Ian Foster has made 2 positional switches to his starting lineup as he chases a vast improvement in Wellington on Saturday from last week's 23-12 second test defeat in Dunedin. Goalkeeper Hazel Nali kicked the winning spot kick as Zambia qualified for a first ever Women's World Cup finals appearance after edging Senegal 4-2 on post-match penalties following a 1-1 draw after extra time in their Women's Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinal in Casablanca on Wednesday. The top 4 finishers at WAFCON in Morocco qualify for 2023 World Cup in Australia and New Zealand this time next year, making each of the quarterfinals at a continental finals a decisive qualifying tie. We're now going to take a quick ad break, and when we return, we get into our highlights.
Tourismus Namibia is a weekly tourism show that brings you the latest news in the tourism industry and topics related to that. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact tourismus@synergy.com.na for news and advertising related queries. Tourismus, bring the world to Namibia.
Namibia's hospitality is as vibrant as its people. Join the What's Cooking team as they travel the country cooking, chatting, and celebrating local personalities and the joy of food. If you think you have a standout offering, whether it's a restaurant, bar, pop-up event, or braai stand, get in touch with the What's Cooking team at cooking@synergy.com.na, and we will be there to show the world what's cooking. Programs air every Friday at 4 p.m. on all the NMH Facebook platforms, as well as on NTV, DSTV channel 285, and GoTV channel 94 at 9 p.m.
You're watching NMH at 1, and if you've just joined us, here are your news highlights. The Uber transport company is being sued in the US by 550 women who were allegedly assaulted by drivers on the ride-hailing platform. Somali soldiers taken to Eritrea for military training's whereabouts and well-being had become a concern after families lost contact with them 3 years ago. Netball Namibia have announced a training squad of 21 players for the Africa World Cup qualifiers to be held in August 2022 in Pretoria, South Africa. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Diana Master. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. But for now, stay with us for a compilation of news from across Namibia in our regional review segment.
Good day, viewers, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Regional Review. My name is Desiree Gassis and I am the NMH correspondent for the Central North. Well, today is Shark Awareness Day. I mean, did you even know that sharks are actually animals who are more afraid of us and more threatened by us than we are by them? Stay tuned for the following video for more on Shark Awareness Day. Well, first in our news segment, we did have the signing ceremony of the Windhoek and Otjiwarongo Memorandum Cooperation and Partnership, where there are a few snippets of the Windhoek or the city of Windhoek mayor, as well as some of the members that came with her. Stay tuned for some of the snippets of that signing ceremony.
Yes, Kotler Kandiwapa Shivute to give us his welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Good afternoon once again. Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Governor of the Namibia region, Honorable James Punamasa Afrika in his absentia. He worship the Mayor of Windhoek, Honorable Shodin Governors. He worship the Deputy Mayor of Otjiwarongo, Honorable Tulenta Flora Kampungu, Chairperson of the Management Committee, Honorable Koda Togo, City of Windhoek Councillor, Honorable Magdalena Pina Lombard, Honorable Regional and Local Authority Councillors present here, and I did not take note of anyone. Executive team from the City of Windhoek and Otjiwarongo Municipality Manager, External Relations and Networking, Mr. Christopher Echa, Otjiwarongo Municipality and City of Windhoek staff, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning. Allow me to start off by saying how excited and proud we are by renewing the partnership agreement with the City of Windhoek. As we are continuing the journey of developing our town and seeking innovative ways of delivering quality and affordable services to the residents of our respective local authority areas. Back in 2003, the Municipality Council of Otjiwarongo and the City of Windhoek entered into a memorandum of understanding in which we agreed to cooperate in the areas of human resource, capacity building, local economic development, and tourism and informal settlement management, as well as HIV and AIDS prevention and awareness raising strategies. The agreement expired in 2008. However, the two councils continue to collaborate on issues of mutual benefit. Subsequently, the renewal of the cooperation agreement between the municipality of Otjiwarongo and the City of Windhoek was signed on the 22nd of August 2016 and expired on the 22nd of August 2021. I'm proud to mention that Otjiwarongo Council has greatly benefited from the twinning agreement with the City of Windhoek through the through the staff exchange, skills transfer, and sharing of best practices. Honorable Councillors, you will agree with me that we as mayors and local authority council play a vital role in promoting the principle of local democracy and shared value within our communities. Aside from the role of prescribed in the legislations.
It's your opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Machai. It's actually Shade Shireen Kavango. So you must please pronounce. It's going to be a difficult one.
I'll come for the teaching of the
Okay. Your Worship, Councillor Gottlieb Shibute, Mayor of the Otjiwarongo Municipality, Honourable Councillors of the Otjiwarongo Municipality, officials of the Otjiwarongo Municipality, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor and privilege to officiate at this memorable occasion in the history of our two local authorities, marking the signing of a memorandum of cooperation between the city of Windhoek and the city of Otjiwarongo. Allow me first, on behalf of my delegation and indeed on behalf of myself, to express our sincere gratitude for the warm welcome and wonderful hospitality accorded to us since our arrival in your beautiful town, Otjiwarongo. I'm honestly impressed and immensely grateful for the opportunity to experience what I have now blessed as the town of milk and honey. Also, what stood out for me is the name of Witvlei, which means ours, and I think that speaks a lot, because once we take ownership of what belongs to us, we are then accountable and responsible leaders of our two local authorities, but more for the city of, for the town of Otjiwarongo. The city of Windhoek's relationship with Otjiwarongo Municipality comes a long way by way of collaboration through technical exchanges, particularly on issues pertaining to local economic development. It is against this background that I am happy to visit your beautiful town and renew our joint efforts. Your Worship, we share the same goals of improving the quality of the lives of our people. Through the strategic partnerships such as this, I have no doubt that our common vision will be realized, and with the added mutual benefit of shared experiences and knowledge exchanged. It is crucial, especially now, with the social and economic challenges facing us, that we pool our collective resources to enhance the economic sustainability of our respective towns. I look forward to building on our existing relationships and crafting tangible roadmaps for effective implementation. The city of Windhoek, being both the political and economic capital of the Republic of Namibia, recognizes its leading role in supporting, but also learning from other cities, towns, and villages across the country. We believe that by developing local contracts and assisting other local authorities at home, we also enhance the necessary local governance capacity to tackle development challenges within the context of decentralization. The city of Windhoek is proud of the progress made with various councils around the country in terms of building solid foundations for cooperation.
I think for the exchange, yes.
Yeah.
After we're done, the exchange of the signed copies.
Yeah, I give it. It's inside.
Yes. Let that copy be this one.
Aha, is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You had it?
And second, in our new segment, we did have the introduction of the new IPC member, who is Gideon Iyambo. There were a few snippets of that event as well, so stay tuned for that.
Uphold and defend the Namibian Constitution, and the laws of the Republic of Namibia. To perform my duties, so a member of Local Authority Council of Otjiwarongo, diligently, honestly, fairly, and to the best of my ability. So help me God. I'll ask you to put your signature just here where it says councillor. Now you're officially a councillor.
NMH Ad Spotter spots the daily NMH printed editions for the daily newspapers to the retail specials, as well as weekly, monthly, and yearly focus editions. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact adspotter@synergy.com.na. NMH Ad Spotter. Spot it, like it, buy it.
And in our interview segment, we did have an interview with Gideon Iyambo, who is the new IPC member, who will be telling us a bit about what he looks forward to in being in this position, as well as the changes that he thinks that he will bring being in this position. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, my name is Gideon Shavuga Iyambo. I'm actually the new councillor to replace for IPC. Replacing Dr. Bota as our councillor member. All that I have to say is I would like, as a new councillor, I would like to trace where my fellow councillors are and how far they have gone in addressing the community problem. And in addition to that, it's actually to address the lack of communication or the channel of communication between the councillor and the community at large, so that we can actually be able to address their problem correctly and not in assumption, as what I've seen previously been done.
What do you look forward to the most being in this position?
What I look forward to the most is actually a good cooperation between our citizens.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toyvon Jabela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact agenda@synergy.com.na. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
Okavango is sunny and mild during both the day and night. Otjiwarongo is sunny and delightful with some wind forecast for Friday. Sunny and comfortable conditions are expected in Tsumeb along with some wind on Friday. Grootfontein is sunny and pleasant and cooler at night. And finally, Okakarara is sunny and pleasant during the day, but expect sub-zero temperatures over the weekend nights.
Well, viewers, we have unfortunately reached the end of our regional review episode for today. But don't you worry, don't you fear. I'll be back again next week, same time, same place.
Sunset News is a daily news show focusing on national headlines as well as international news. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact sunset@synergy.com.na. Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.
Active Kids is an initiative under the MyZone brand that aims to provide exciting and easy activities and fun stories. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na. Active Kids, where we actively invest in your future.